Okay, so it seems like we have a pretty big update in terms of the Deme stuff. Now, essentially, she's come out with a new post kind of apologizing for a lot of the things that have kind of gone on, especially in regards to the whole Chibi Review situation. Because if you don't know, obviously, this whole drama started whenever she essentially made a post, asking people to stop drawing blank of her, like, character doing it. Obviously, not her herself, but obviously, yeah, her character. This was something that caused a bit of controversy. And again, I think she was totally within her right to not want to see that or be uncomfortable with it or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's that. But essentially, Chibi Reviews ended up, commenting on this. And then she replied with, "Wait, aren't you the guy that got cheated on?" Now, obviously, that was the whole situation with Chibi where he got cheated on and ended up, he was going to do some awful things, to himself. And obviously, I can't really say too much on YouTube because else it will probably get taken down, right? But it was a very a nice time, right? And it's been like this kind of whole spiral of drama. Obviously, we've had the clips, we've had all of this other stuff, which you guys have seen in the previous videos if you guys want to go look at them. But essentially, one thing that Chibi has been asking for a lot is just an apology, right? Because a lot of the replies that Deme has been coming out with have been kind of like half apologies, but then she goes and doubles down, and it's just like, okay, well, this isn't really an apology, and people aren't too, keen on it, right? But essentially, yeah, there was this post that came out literally 4 minutes ago saying, I was ready to genuinely take this to the ground because the idea that why should I ever feel bad being rude to someone who's a piece of blank? After some reflection, the thought occurred to me, do I really want to go as low as him though? And the answer is no. I said what I said because I personally think there is no scenario that a friend group chooses the side of a fiance that cheats. I can't even fathom friends siding with a cheater. However, would I have brought it up if I knew that he was blank because of it? No. I admitted it in the previous tweets, so why didn't I apologize? Because he's this and that and blah. And but I thought about it, and that kind of ideology is quite harmful. I knew it was wrong, and I admitted that twice, but I didn't apologize. So after some reflection, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry for bringing up that memory that made someone blank. It was a low blow, even if I didn't know, regardless of whether he was intentionally being a piece of shit. I don't want to stoop to his level. I'd rather be better and learn from my mistake. So yeah, essentially she has apologized for what she has said about Chibi and his whole stuff with his wife, fiance, sorry, it wasn't his wife, it's fiance, cheating on him and all of this kind of stuff. So again, of course, that was something that a lot of people have been asking for, and as I said, Chibi has been asking for that, and a lot of people have been kind of commenting now saying good on you for sure. However, the other party is definitely going to keep doing the same thing as they have numerous times now, and I think this is one of these things, right, where I hope this is the last thing that Deme really speaks about this like situation as a whole, like just the apology and then just kind of move on, right? Because it's one of these things where the more that she talks about this, the more that she keeps making tweets, the more that she keeps apologizing or keeps doubling down or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. People are still going to dig into it, right? And there's going to be people that are going to be mad at this post. Obviously, it's only 4 minutes in, so we don't know the full extent of the backlash, right? But of course, there's still going to be people mad at this post, and it'll be interesting to see what Chibi says as well in response, which I will cover probably tomorrow whenever I'm assuming he's going to respond to it, right? And again, I think it is one of those things where, yeah, I hope that this is the last post, because else if it continues like this and it continues to have more posts made about this, more posts made about that, they're just going to continue to, go after her. And that's more for like her sake, right? Not necessarily saying the things that she did or said were right? Obviously, like the fiance thing was pretty horrible. But of course, at the same time, just from like an outside perspective, regardless of what she's done, I think for her, tweeting about it more will, only make things worse than make things better, right? So yeah, but obviously the apology is good, and that's definitely a step forward. So I think that does need to be posted, and I think that it's a good thing, right? But I hope that is the last thing, right? The apology, and then just kind of enjoy your time in Japan. I think she's out right now. I don't know if she's still there, but apparently she's been on holiday or something. So of course it is one of these things where go enjoy your holiday, just apologize and just do that, right? Because again, people will still try to rip into her regardless. But yeah, people saying literally all could have been avoided if you just apologized in the first place. You don't even have to love the guy or anything, but going for the throat, then proceeding to say, Lamau, I don't care, is a very bad look on you, Deme. Be better. As a big mistake apologizing to these animals, lol. And now they're going to take this as apology as a victory, saying, see guys, we were right. She's apologizing. But to be honest, I do think that was one of these things where, you know, I know that she, you know, a lot of the stuff has been kind of overblown, I'd say, especially with the clips and things of her going around. But I do think that maybe she should have just apologized for that last, you know, comment that she made about Chibi and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's something that, you know, although people are saying, you know, never apologize to these animals or whatever, I do think it is one of those important things because that's all that apparently that they wanted, right? And I think that is, you know, pretty valid because, of course, she was bringing up something that even she says was a mistake, right? So she should just apologize for that and, you know, and then move on, right? Regardless of whatever she thinks about him and his other kind of opinions and stuff like that, right? Saying good on you for sure. However, the party is definitely going to keep doing the same as they have numerous times now. And that is exactly why I said, right, you know, it'll be in our best interest to just do this apology, give, you know, obviously, you know, Chibi wanted an apology. He literally said it in a tweet. That's all he wanted. And then just give that apology because, of course, it seems like she has actually thought about it now, which, again, warranted. And then just kind of, you know, maybe get off Twitter for a little bit because, again, of course, there are still going to be people that are going to go after her and whatever because, you know, the kind of ball's rolling now and nobody will kind of stop just because she apologized, right? But I do think, you know, obviously just getting off of Twitter and things can kind of, you know, help that. And obviously, I think that all of the tweets that have come out over the past couple of days over this drama have made things worse for her. And a lot of it has been caused by those tweets that she has put out, right? That's kind of what's made the drama worse. But again, as I said, I think it is one of those things, though, where, you know, it just needs to maybe happen. Saying, and now that she's apologized, we can consider the concept of moving on, right, guys? The sad you fell for the claim blank to make her feel bad bait. The guy's a loser and absolutely deserves everything that has ever happened to him. So again, as you know, it's one of these things where you can disagree with Chibi on some of his points and whatever. I think that's totally fine, right? You know, I don't agree with everything that he says about, you know, everything on Twitter, right? But it doesn't mean that, you know, I want all of that stuff with his fiance and stuff to happen to him. Like, you know, you could definitely separate the two things. And also, you know, I don't necessarily hate the guy either. You know, you could disagree with people while also not being like rude and kind of, you know, digging into some pretty personal stuff of theirs. Which again, I think that there is a big difference, right? If you're saying, if only he actually went through it and we could have avoided all of this. It's a very classy response. Even if these people don't deserve it, stay cool. So again, it seems like a lot of people are very accepting of this apology. And I think it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, it is good for moving on and for hopefully trying to put this, you know, behind her now and maybe, you know, just trying to, you know, just keep going essentially because that's what, you know, I'm assuming she wants, right? Now, obviously, I don't know if there's any quote retweets or anything like that. No, there's only a couple saying, this is what a mature person is. Big W Deme even thought, I still believe that something like that drama wouldn't start if people mind their own business. Then calling people a piece of shit and then talking about not stooping to their level while apologizing to them isn't an apology. Which, again, I think it is still an apology. You know, as I said, it doesn't mean that she likes Chibi now. Right, you know, she still doesn't like him, but very clearly. But she's just apologizing for the comment that she made about all of that stuff. So again, I think that's a W, right? But yeah, as I said, it's just like what happens after this is going to be the most important part, I think, of you know, what is going on. You know, will there be more posts coming out? Will there be more you know, talks about this? If so, it could get worse. But if you know, she just put out this apology to him. And moves on and just kind of, you know, takes a break from Twitter or whatever, I definitely think, you know, then people will probably start to move on a little bit. Of course, there's always going to be a little bit of lingering hate or whatever towards her after this entire situation. That's always going to happen. And that happens with many people out there. But, you know, as I said, it'll be in her best interest to maybe just like stop talking about it now after she's released this apology. And yeah, I mean, that's it, right? But yeah, that's essentially the apology that she's put out. I just kind of wanted to cover that and yeah, just show you guys exactly what was going on with that. But as I said, we'll probably cover tomorrow if Chibi responds to this and what he has to say, because I got genuinely no clue what he's going to say. I don't know if he's going to accept it and be like, okay, fair enough, or if you know, he's not going to be happy. I don't know. It could be either way. But yeah, we'll find out tomorrow, right? But yeah, that's what I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So, see ya.